So welcome everybody. Welcome to Finalist presentation number 3. This is team GC04. We are 5 minutes behind schedule, but that's okay. We're going to give each team the fully allocated time, even if we're starting a little bit late. But that being said, I'm going to hand things over to the team and let them introduce themselves and their posters or presentation.
I would like to share my screen.
You have permission. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Shileka Sampatmar from GC04 Georgian College, along with my team Amit Hayden and Karthikeyan Suresh Kumar. So the problem statement is identifying user groups and behavior is one of the key ideas here. And the tools we have used for performing the analysis is Python for cluster analysis and MS Excel's data analysis toolpack and RealStats add-in, and then Microsoft Power BI for the poster creation. So regarding pre-processing and data cleaning, the transaction for the years 2019-2021 has been separated for both of the data set as mentioned in the competition. So extracting the data for the months of September, October, the data was merged into a single transaction file. And then the unqualified parking lots were removed, which is we have taken only September and October for the analysis. And then we have added additional columns like start date of the week by transforming the time into day of the week in numeric as well as alphabetical order. And then we have changed the time into 24-hour format. And then we have calculated the duration of hours. And then we have used VLOOKUP to bring the lot numbers into a transaction. And then so with help of this, we have calculated and added the data. And and I hand over the presentation to Karthik.
Thank you, Shileka. I'm Amit here. I will be starting about the cluster analysis. Actually, we perform the cluster analysis to find the potential user groups and behaviors. So initially, we started the cluster analysis with the Python, but the input order and the output order was different. So we were not able to match the cluster output to the transaction. So what we tried was finding the cluster analysis using the RealStats in Excel. Microsoft Excel. So we performed the cluster analysis on one of the lot 1DU. So we performed it on the 3 variables on start date, start time, and the weekday. So on performing on these 3, we were able to find the clusters. So from the feedback of the Python, we were using the elbow chart. We were able to determine how much clusters we need. So the elbow chart gave us like we want 5 clusters would be appropriate to separate the groupings. So once we get the data, we then pivoted that data in Excel, and after pivoting, we were focusing on finding the patterns of the usage for the lot 1DU. So as we don't have data for 2019 for that particular lot, we were able to apply those instincts on across the years 2020 and 21. So there were no after pivoting, we found that from the chart that there were no regular pattern usage for that, because there were no the number of entries for each hour of the day for each day of the week was the same as the number of unique license plates. It means that the number of vehicles that are entering is equal to the number of payments that were made for that particular day, the particular hour of the day. So even when if we go across 24 hours of all months, both years altogether, the number of payments, the number of unique license plates will be the same as the number of payments that were made on the day. So this testifies that there were no one parking in the every Monday at 9 a.m. or every weekday at 9 a.m. So because if they were parking at every weekday, if they were parking at every weekday, there would be more payments than unique license plates. So the further question analysis will explain. will be explained by.
Can you focus on the area you are talking about? It's very, the letters are very small.
Can you repeat again?
Yeah.
Yeah, we perform cluster analysis on 1DU. So there were data for the year 2020 and 21 only. So what we focused on, we want to find the patterns of the users of that particular lot for the lot 1DU. So after pivoting the data, we found that the number of vehicles that are entering that particular lot is equal to the number of payment that happened for that particular hour, the pay hour. So there were no particular pattern for that lot based on that. So so what we say is that there was no one parking on that particular weekday. What to say? There were no one parking in the last Monday at 9 a.m. or every weekday. They were not parking at every day. So if they were parking at weekday and if they were parking at Mondays at 9 a.m., there would be more payments than unique license plates. So there may be that advance booking may be there, but the cars might be coming later. So there may be prior changes. So the further cluster analysis will be explained by Karthikeyan.
Okay, so as you see in that, Amit has explained about the cluster analysis. So we did cluster analysis to find out the user groups in for that particular parking lot 1DU, so that once we can identify the user groups and their behaviors, we might be able to find the patterns in which they might be parking, and so that we can. So one of the best things to do is to find the user groups. So what we have done so far is he has done for the payment hour based on the time. So what I've done is I just combined all the data for the particular year 2020 and 2021 has been combined, and tried running the cluster analysis on this particular data. So we found out that so we ran cluster analysis on the same. So once we ran the cluster analysis on it, we were able to find out some behaviors, the user behaviors. We were able to find out the user behaviors from the clusters. So we tried plotting the clusters in terms of average duration and the paid hours. So what we did, we just plotted the graph for that. So once we were able to visualize the results, we were able to find the pattern. So from the graph, you can see that the majority of the users are arriving in the business hours, which is around some 9 to 1 p.m. So the arrival time is roughly equal to the payment time. Also, we can see that the parking lot's operating hour is from 9 to 6. So the user groups are in the particular time period only. So no one is paying outside of the parking hours. So there is no user groups or no transactions has been found. So which is one of the things which we can be able to infer from the graph. So the next one is this particular analysis was done for both the years combined for all the 4 months. So we didn't have the data for 2019 for this particular parking lot. So we weren't able to get any insights for that as well. So what we done is we just tried to find out user behaviors or user groups for each particular year. Why we had done that is we just wanted to see whether COVID has any impacts on the user groups and the duration and the parking patterns. So what we have done is we took the transaction data for the year 2020. So for the transaction data of the year 2020, we ran the cluster analysis on it separately. So once we have done that, we were able to find some clusters. So if you could see, when we ran the cluster analysis for both the years, we were able to find a pattern, like a regular pattern, where the user, there was around some traffic in the parking lot. So this was reduced to a irregular pattern when we did the analysis for 2020. So if you could see, the regular pattern has been for the whole 2 years has been changed into irregular pattern. So over here we can see that the user groups pattern is only for the only during the noon and the afternoon time. So we can see a particular increase in traffic in the parking lots only for these two particular periods. So that's for the year 2020. So we can definitely come to a conclusion that COVID has impact on the parking behaviors and the user groups for the year 2020. This might be due to the enforcement which might have caused schools, colleges, and public places to shut down. So this might be due to that. So what we done next is like we just in the year 2021, where almost 50% of the restriction has been lifted. So we just tried running the cluster analysis for the data for the year 2020. So when we have done that, we were able to find the same pattern, which once we did, for which we have done the cluster analysis for both the years. So the similar pattern almost repeats. So we could see that there is again an regular pattern in the behavior of the user groups and the parking patterns. So we can see that many offices and government institutions which have been opened up in the year 2021 in the second half or something like that. So September 2020, September and October is in the second half. So it has been opened up. So we can see there is an increase in the parking average duration and the payment of the parking lot users also. So we can see that the normal parking pattern has returned almost after the COVID pandemic. So we can say that this might be the exact particular pattern, which might also be there in the pre-COVID pattern as well, as we didn't have the data for year 2019. So we can conclude that from this analysis on the parking lot 1DU, we can see that we can get some insights on the user behavior and the parking pattern and the impact of COVID too, obviously. So we can say that this might be the case for other parking lots as well. So if you could identify the user groups and their parking patterns for all the parking lots combined, so we may be able to make the parking process more streamlined, and we could implement new schemes in order to for as a loyalty program for the customers. So this is our analysis, and these are our references. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that presentation, Team GC04. Sharon, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, guys. I have a question regarding your cluster analysis. So you use k-means clustering algorithm here?
Yeah, we use k-means clustering algorithm.
Okay, so then because I was a little bit confused when I saw that you also mentioned like nearest neighbor. Is it like a typo, number 4 under your cluster analysis? Did you use k?
Yeah, k and then there's like the k nearest neighbor to string algorithm. Yeah? So
okay, so you use both.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you explain how you identified like the number of clusters? Like how did you come up with the right number of Ks for your algorithm here?
Okay, so we just wrote a piece of code in Python for that. So what we have done is like we just tried to find out the optimum number of clusters. So we randomly chose around some starting from 2. We just randomly chose around some clusters, and we interpreted the output for that, and we plotted an elbow chart for that. So once where the elbow chart converges, we were able to find the optimum number of clusters.
Right. So you use the elbow techniques here.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Paul.
Yeah, so I guess maybe to go back to the cluster analysis, you guys mentioned these user groups. Can you maybe go into a little bit more detail on like what those user groups were? Because it wasn't abundantly clear to me going through your data on what those user groups are.
Okay, so we just found 5 different user groups. So we weren't exactly sure about how to classify them because we weren't able to analyze where the parking lots is located and what were the places or things near that. So we weren't able to analyze exactly figure out what were those user groups. So, but we were able to tell the user groups that are distinct from each other because we were able to find their behaviors from our analysis, and we just ran a maneuver for that to check whether these user groups are distinct. And we were able to tell the user groups based on the entry time and their duration. So based on that, we were able to segregate 5 user groups.
Okay, maybe just one thing like for the future is like, if you ever do an analysis like this, you kind of have to make it like very clear to your reader, like what those user groups are. And even if you have to speculate a little bit of what they are, or maybe you could even say, look, we have 2 groups and we're not sure what the difference is and we need to research it further. I would just advise you guys to do that in the future, just because for someone like I'm reading this, trying to figure out, okay, I know you guys have groups, but what are they exactly? And then it'll help me as a reader kind of bring that data that you're showing later in your analysis back to those groups. So that would just be one thing. And then just another question I had was on your MANOVA analysis. Just maybe a comment as well, just on if you're ever going to show that you've done a statistical analysis, you definitely want to make sure you show like, what does significant mean in this sense? Did you use 5%, 10%, 1%, whatever that might be? And then also kind of show like maybe a small chart or something on like what that breakdown is. Because for me as a reader as well, like I want to know like, you know, how significant was that difference? Was it a huge difference? Was it a small difference? And that'll help me kind of understand your analysis. But other than that, I think you guys did a good job. So I think Julianne has a question, so we can jump over to her.
Sure. Thanks, guys, for taking another stab at this. Why is it that you didn't use the 2019 data for this lot?
Actually, the 2019 data wasn't available for this particular lot.
You had access to the
We were
Cali
able to extract the
2019
data from
spreadsheet? Or you
access to it.
was
but
that
I
not
think
the
we didn't-
uploaded data?
I think we didn't find the transactions for this particular lot. So we just
Okay.
merged all these transactions together.
Okay, because just opening the spreadsheet, I can see transactions for that lot on any given day. So considering that you focused on one lot, which is fine because you guys had very limited amount of time, I can see why you would prioritize your time that way. I would have spent a little bit more time looking to see if you had 2019 data, particularly since you, in your conclusion, stated that the lot was impacted by COVID, but you didn't compare it to non-COVID data.
Okay. I'm sorry. I think we might have missed it. I just corrected.
Sure. Like everybody was rushed, like we respect that. But just pointing that out, there definitely was data for that lot for 2019.
Okay. Okay.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Very quick question, because they mentioned that you have used a data analysis tool add-in as an Excel. And you also said that you have used a Microsoft Power BI. Where did you use that Power BI?
Actually, we made some charts for that, but in the last time we didn't find that particular analysis to be particularly providing insights for this particular question. So we removed the chart visuals made from the Power BI. I think we didn't remove it over here. We are sorry.
Oh, okay. So
My apologies.
you mentioned it, so I was just trying to look for it.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, well, great job, GC04. I'd like to thank you for your presentation. We have caught up a little bit of time, so that's good. So we will be starting, we'll try to start the final presentation of the morning on time at 11:30. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next session.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.